So as a first step, navigate to IAM, navigate to roles, click on create role. I'm going to create a role for this AWS service called Lambda. Under use cases, select Lambda, then click on next. So for this Lambda function, what exactly permissions we really required? So if you observe, so this Lambda basic access execution role is definitely required. So this Lambda basic access execution role will provide permission to write the logs whenever any text execution happened. So this is basically required. Also, along with this, I'm going to use this DynamoDB full access also, and also this Lambda uh, invoke function, right? These permissions also may require. So currently I'm going to give DynamoDB full access, or if you have any doubt like about this permission, you can simply associate administrator access if you're facing any issue later. Okay, let me click on next, and I'm going to give name as admin lambda role. So then click on create role. Now an IAM role created. So lambda, select lambda, and click on create function. And this function name you can give any. I'm going to call this as Avinash demo function. And runtime, I'm using Python 3.8. And under this execution role, the role we have created some time back, I'm going to use that admin lambda role. Then click on create function. All right, a lambda function created, and we should write some code here. So want to use that option. Okay, so you have to whatever the role you associated to this lambda function, right? So to this role, you need to give get object permission on that S3 bucket. Okay, right. So now let's go to upload, then click on zip file, click on upload. It's on my local laptop, Avinash demo function.zip. So then click on open. Okay, then save. Now immediately all these files should open here. So this Mac OS X, it comes defaultly whenever we are zipping. So I'm just going to delete this, not really required. So these are the three files, this lambda function, success.html and contact.html. So contact.html is loading here, and success.html is loading here, and DynamoDB is going to point. So now, so the lambda part currently completed. Now let's go to DynamoDB. In DynamoDB, we have an option called tables. Go to tables option, then click on create table. So now it's asking me to enter the table name. So as per our code, our table name should be Avinash table. I'm going to give same thing as here. And what exactly this partition key is. So I'm going to use email as a partition key, and that's going to be a string. So then scroll down. So if you want to customize any settings, like, you want to choose the storage classes, you want to provision this capacity on demand, or you want to specify your read capacity units and write capacity units, you can uh, define that here. But for this demo, I'll go with the default settings. So then scroll down, then click on create table. All right, so now a DynamoDB table is creating. Okay, it won't take much time, so DynamoDB is going to be very quick. Okay, the DynamoDB table created, and do we have any items now? So when you go to this explore items, when you select the table, do we have any items? No, we don't have any items. Let's keep this DynamoDB aside. So now we completed this DynamoDB part as well as Lambda part. Now let's configure API gateway. So let's go to API gateway. And within this API gateway, we have an option called REST API. So this REST API works over the internet. REST API private works only within our VPC. Okay, so click on this REST API, click on build. So I'm going to create a new API and API name. So we can give any name like Avinash demo API is a API name I'm giving, and API endpoint is going to be regional, not a private. Okay, then click on create API. All right, so now an API created. Next option is we need to create methods. So if you recall our Lambda function, so we are primarily performing here in this Lambda, we are primarily performing this get operation and post operation, right? So we need to configure both methods here. First, go to this API, then click on create method. And under method type, we have an option called get. So select that get option and Lambda function, and make sure you enable this Lambda proxy integration. So if you don't enable this, the request won't send as a structured event. And whatever the Lambda function in which region you created, whatever the Lambda function you created, select that Lambda function. So we created this Avinash demo function, right? I'm selecting it, and we are good with the default timeout, that is 29 seconds. At 30th second, it is going to timeout. Then click on create method. Okay, so now we have configured get method. In same way, let's go to this root and click on create method, and now select post. Select the post, and I'm going to use this Lambda function. Make sure you enable Lambda proxy integration. Lambda function name I'm going to select again, then click on create method. All right, so we have created our required API calls, and then we need to deploy this API. Click on deploy API. So the stage, you can create a new stage, and in simple, you can call this stage as a dev, or you can give any name, then click on deploy. So whenever you complete this deployment, you're going to get an invoke URL. So let me copy that invoke URL. So this is a invoke URL. Okay, so now whenever we are giving this invoke URL in our browser, so it is loading this web page. So again, where this web page is actually, so it's in Lambda. It's in our Lambda function. Sorry, it's here. So in Lambda function, whatever this contact us.html we have, right? Whenever we give our API invocation URL, we are getting that page. And now I'm going to fill some information. Okay, I'm going to call this as Avinash, last name as a Reddy, giving my email ID, then giving a message. Hello, this is my test project on AWS Serverless delivery. Then click on submit. Whenever we submitting this, yeah, if the data it's storing in the backend DynamoDB table, it's going to load. So basically, this is another web page. So this is success.html web page. So now, even if you want to try, you can test with another information. Earlier, we have given Avinash, and it won't accept duplicate values. The reason in DynamoDB we have given email as a primary one, right? So it won't accept the duplicate values. I'm going to give like a name as a test, calling it as a YouTube, Avinash @avinash.com. This is second test. Then click on submit. Whenever we submitted, again it's displaying that success message. Now, how to verify this? So to verify this, you first need to go to DynamoDB. Where is that? Yeah, it's here. Here is our DynamoDB table. and go to explore items. When you click on this Avinash table and when you give a refresh here, you observe whatever the information we have filled there. The first name, the last name, the message, you see here that all information is storing here, right? So whatever the message also, it's actually storing here in backend DynamoDB. So in same way, you can fill multiple. Like let me give, um, right? It's trying to read previous. It's trying to submit previous information only. Okay, test, 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 and test, and submit. All right. Now again go to DynamoDB, give a refresh. You see here, test, 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 and it's backend. It's storing in DynamoDB.